Wait, this wasn't on my list. Did you know that a majority of women don't have a hobby today? I didn't think much of it until a recent thrift trip that just went completely off the rails. And it made me wonder, when did we stop making time to do things for just us, just for fun? Good morning, y'all. We are headed out to Georgia this morning. We're going to do a little thrifting. There is a barn sale up in Bainbridge, Georgia that we're going to head to today, and we're going to see what goodies we can find. Now, I went with a friend, and at first she told me, you're going to be a little underwhelmed. But then we stepped inside, and oh my goodness, she was not wrong. From the outside, it doesn't look like much of anything at all, but inside was just beautiful. There were so many things, so many great prices, and everything was styled so you could find them easily. There were vignettes everywhere. Of course, Barware was the first on my list, and that was exactly what I was seeing there. There were many options that I was attracted to. Of course, the colors always catch my eye, or maybe I should go with this nautical. I don't know. They were all gorgeous. Like I said, the vignettes were everywhere and so gorgeous. This coastal little vignette, there were so many things here that if I had a beach house would be perfect. Of course, I have some coastal elements, but not always. Then this Americana vignette. I mean, if I had a little porch, this would be my outdoor porch all summer, right here. I would take everything. What'd you see that was special? Collect moments, not things. Even though we were looking for things, we were collecting lots of moments. So I did get a couple things at the sale. I'm putting together a mini bar. So I found these glasses to put in my little mini bar situation. 4 of them were $8.95, which I thought was reasonable and appropriate. And then I picked up these little letters. I've been trying to do this for a while, and I've seen them several different places, and I never can find all of the letters in one place. So I just picked up the ones that I knew were harder to find, and I couldn't find the others. So I just picked these up, and I thought the next time I'm out and I see these blocks, then I'll look for the right letters, but it'll spell out one of my granddaughter's names. They were $1 a piece, and they actually threw in the little one, so it's $3. So I thought that was a good little haul. You may have noticed some items in my trunk besides that haul. That's because we stopped to an estate sale on this gorgeous property on the water. I didn't do a whole lot of filming inside because I like to respect, when going to personal homes. I don't know as if that's something I need to share on the internet per se. Of course, I share my own home, but so for those reasons, I didn't film inside those estate sales. As well as, it gets a little crowded and cramped, and I like to respect other people's privacy as well. In recent years, I have become quite mindful of the things that I purchase when I'm out thrifting. And the reason being is I don't have endless storage, and there's only so many hours for projects in a day. So if I'm not getting to it right away, if it's not exactly what I need, I leave it. And this trip, that's what was happening. I was looking for some things for my family room makeover, and I didn't find exactly what I wanted. I found a few things that were a maybe, but I don't think they were quite the feel that I wanted. So I left them behind. But I picked up this gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous tablecloth from this estate sale. It's in pristine condition. It has this beautiful cutout work in it. And I have a few projects that I'm going to be doing. I have seen them in thrift stores and vintage stores and antique stores and at estate sales. And I'm just completely drawn to them and enamored with them because of the quality, the natural fibers, the intricate embroidery, the lace, the hand stitched sections are just something that we don't see much anymore. And has, kind of become a pastime that we just don't do anymore. But I decided to pick these up today because recently I saw a few things on how people have been taking them and making clothing out of them. So I thought I could possibly make some cute short outfits and maybe a dress or two for my grandkids or for myself. They're gonna be cute, honest. I know you're probably thinking, are you crazy? That's a tablecloth. How are you Scarlett O'Hara? No, I didn't take the draperies down and make them into. You could though, if they're really cute, nice fabric, you could make those into clothes too. But anyways, I digress. I also picked up this gorgeous platter. I don't know anything about it. It says Kent SPCO. I probably should look it up. It doesn't look super old, but it does have a little gold rim along the outside. This was $7, and I think these were $3, so it was $10 altogether when I checked out. But I have another plate with little pink flowers around the edges, and I think I might start a little collection of plates with the little pink flowers because I see them a lot. And then the next estate sale, I found even more vintage linens. This one is a little stained, but goodness, look at this, y'all. I mean, oh, it's so gorgeous. Now these I might repurpose into some pillows or something like that. Like I said, it is stained. So you might see this in a project here soon. But well, if I ever get to my bedroom, that is. But it is a super soft pink. I don't know if it's picking up in the camera, but it's a super soft pink. And I mean, yo, you just don't find work like this, embroidery work like this. And then here's the last one. And again, both of these were $10. So here's that one. So pretty. It's white, and then it has a very hint of blue in the thread. When I started looking into, is this true that women don't have hobbies? And why don't we have hobbies anymore? The realization came to me that I even don't have a hobby. Someone that basically has taken their hobby and made it their business, their job. I don't take time to do things just for me. Over the Christmas holiday, I made a few things for my grandchildren for Christmas. And I was sewing, which is something I used to do a long time ago. As I was sitting there, I said to myself, you know what? I really need to take more time to do this. This is just so enjoyable. So I told myself I am going to get back into sewing, and I'm just going to do it a few minutes a day. You know, I can work during the day and still take 10, 15, 20 minutes. And if things don't go exactly right, I just stop and pick it up the next day. And that's something that I think we need to think about, because I started researching, why don't we have hobbies anymore? Why as women did we give up sewing and handcrafting and even scrapbooking back when my kids were younger? Why did we give all that? We gave all that up because technology took that over, because our phones are right there and we can see all the pictures right there, right? There's no reason to scrapbook them. So why is it that we completely gave up on those hobbies that are very beneficial? And the reason being is our lifestyles have completely changed. We as women have a lot less downtime. But what the research showed is that women actually benefit by far way more from a hobby than our male counterparts. A little while ago, I was watching this podcast, and this is really what kind of sparked my interest in the whole subject, was the fact that these men were sitting and they were talking about how their wives don't have a hobby. They have golf and they go to sporting events, or they fish, or they hunt, or, work on cars, old cars, that is, any number of those things, but their wives had no hobbies whatsoever. And I thought, do we actually not have the time? Or do we not make the time? Do we spend hours on TV shows, on social media, on shopping on the internet? If you haven't noticed, shopping on the internet takes by far a lot longer than actually going in person and picking it up. At least for me, it does. Anyways, the overwhelm of possibilities is just Anyhow, too much. And there are actually studies that are showing that us being on our phones and being reliant on this technology is actually deteriorating our brains. So when we're talking about hobbies, we're talking about something that is not overly consumed. So the hobbies that I'm referencing and talking about are really ones that are going to take you away from that, are going to give you much more mindfulness. Studies have shown that it actually reduces our stress levels. It helps with cognitive abilities. As we get older, those are more and more important. It actually, people who have hobbies are less risk of having severe depressive disorders, as well as we get older, it's good for dexterity and for movement and for longevity and life well-being in general. So hobbies are actually a lot more important than we give the time for. So that's why I feel it's just important for us to start talking about it at least, right? I also looked into a few things and got a few ideas that I want to share with you that are super easy to get into, don't cost a whole lot of money, and you don't have to take a lot of time to start them. There are things that you can do for 10 or 15 minutes a day. I think we can find time for that. So one of the first ideas were coloring. And I know you're thinking, wait a minute, that's what we did in grade school, right? But I'm talking about adult coloring, like the adult coloring books. We can get colored pencils or markers, crayons, you name it. There's all kinds of things out there that are not very expensive. And just the practice of sitting down and doing the mindless coloring, just it sparks things in our brain, but it also gets us into that flow state. And that's kind of what I was experiencing as I was sitting at my sewing machine sewing. This was a skill that I had done years and years ago, so it came second nature to me, and it just brought so much peace and so much joy. And coloring can do the same, as well as you can do it just about anywhere. Junk journaling is also a thing that is basically like scrapbooking. They're just calling it something different, and they do it a little bit different from the standpoint of, I think it came about when people started traveling. They would take, pieces of their plane ticket or something off their, the little luggage tag thing they'll put on from the airport, or a menu from a restaurant or something like that to put in your book for memories. And I thought also, I know back when my kids were in sport, all the football games that we went to, you could take the tickets from that, or any of the road trips that you took on the way there, you could put, pieces of junk that you accumulate along the way with those road trips, and put those in the book to give you those memories. And I think it'd be really cool to put it with some pictures and then give it to your child when they graduate from high school. Another great thing that you could get into is using air dry clay. Air dry clay is just like using Play-Doh when we were a kid. You're cutting it into shapes, you're molding it with your hands. It's very tactile. It's very, very peaceful and restful. And remember, we're doing this messy. We're doing this just for fun. We're doing it just for us. So whatever you're creating doesn't have to be, some big artistic sculpture. Start small. Make little buttons or little magnets to go on your refrigerator, or any number, little pots, or any number of just little things. There's many ideas out there. Spend just a couple minutes to grab a few inspirational things on the internet, and then go create with your clay and just kind of let your mind go. Cooking or baking is another idea of a hobby that you could do. I know some of us do it every single day. Some of us, don't cook as often, but maybe make it more fun. Find a new recipe, or maybe talk to your spouse. Like if you're in the empty nest phase in your life, like I am, my husband and I kind of get in a rut. I've had to learn how to make things in smaller quantities, and sometimes it isn't worth the work to do for just 2 people. So we've been talking about it, but we've just found like different ways to cook a steak or different ways to cook chicken, or, maybe a little different sauce or a little something extra that we add to the meal to make it just more fun and more interesting. Baking, the same thing. Maybe find a healthier way of making cookies or a healthier way of making bread, like sourdough. Gardening is another great hobby to get into. Now, I know that during the cold months of the year, most of the country can't really do much in the gardening, but when it is nicer, it's a great way to get you outside. It's a great way to get sunshine, get some vitamin D going in your body, get the fresh air breathing in. Zinnias are a great way to start with that gardening process. If you want to start something from seed, these are probably the easiest things to grow. They come up really fast and you don't have to do much to them after they come up. There's several other types of cut flowers, they're called cut flowers, that you can pick up as well that are super easy to grow. And then as they come up and you cut them and you trim them, you have beautiful bouquets to bring inside your house. So it's a win-win. Now you could do vegetables, you could do any number of things. You don't have to have a lot of space and it doesn't have to take up an enormous amount of your time. Start small. Start with just 1 pot with some zinnia seeds in it. Start with just 1 tomato plant. Start with just 1 cucumber plant in a pot. See where it takes you. You never know, you may love it and then get into doing something bigger down the road. Needlepoint or cross stitch is another thing that could be something really fun to get into. Remember how I talked about those linens? Well, I've thought about, what if I monogrammed some napkins? That would be kind of neat to have something really custom. You can pick up these little kits, or there are little designs and whatnot, and embroidery floss is really inexpensive. But take things that you already have, maybe some pillowcases. If you did a little design on those, it'd be super cute. But these kits are a great way to kind of do an entry-level beginner, and everything's right there, the design's right there. It's a way for you to, again, just kind of get into that flow state, to really do something mindless and repetitive. Once you get going, it is just kind of a repetitive motion that's really great for relaxing us, bringing those cortisol levels down, bringing those stress levels down. And if the back gets all knotted up or you don't get the stitches just exactly right, don't stress. This is just for you. Knitting and crocheting is another thing that you could pick up. That's another art form that we've lost along the way that keeps us tactile. The touching of the yarns and the weaving of the needles in and out and actually creating something is something that does major things for our brains and our well-being. So that's another important one to pick up. And again, you can buy just a little pack of needles and find a YouTube video and get started with, of course, you need some yarn as well. And you can get started with either one of those hobbies. Another great hobby to pick up would be learn to sew. Start small. Start with making something like a pillow or maybe a cover for your Kindle or bookmarks or something small. Something easy, square, not a lot of pieces that you have to fit together. And if you want to graduate down the road, move into like a simple A-line dress. Maybe do a toddler size dress or something like that. Just something small and easy for you to get into, and something that you can do few minutes a day. You don't have to complete the entire thing all at once. You don't have to complete an entire wardrobe all at once. You don't have to redecorate every room in the house with pillows that you've made. Start small and let your creativity really open up. Sewing, I think, is another thing that is really needed. We've completely lost the skill, and I think it's something we need to get back to. Watercolor, painting, or sketching is another great hobby to get into. Let your artistic side really flow. I know a lot of you are going to say, but I don't have an artistic bone in my body. I've heard that forever and ever, but I feel everyone has a little bit of something in them. And the art of just taking paint and taking colors and just seeing how they blend together and seeing how they flow on the paper is really where you need to start and where you need to it's where you can really let yourself go. It isn't about being precise and doing an exact landscape or an exact anything too fussy. It's really more just the art of just that expression, of that letting your feelings out, of healing whatever maybe need to be healed inside of you. Letting go, getting in that flow state, as I've mentioned many times. These little watercolor kits you can pick up on Amazon really cheap. I've had this for years, so you don't have to keep replenishing supplies by any means. Watercolor lasts a really long time, and everything's right there, so you can take it with you as well. These little sketchbooks are really fun to pick up. My husband gave me this one for Christmas to just start sketching in, because I love to paint, but I don't like to draw. Drawing is hard for me. And so sometimes some of my proportions get off, and it's because I really need to go back to the basics. And these little postcards are really inexpensive to pick up. You could pick up note cards, and you paint on one side and you write the little note on the other. Simple, easy things. You could do there's little watercolor sketchbooks that you can pick up that are easy to take with you to do anytime. So it doesn't have to be a big ordeal is the point. You're doing this for just a few minutes a day to let go and release. Now, these next couple of things may be a little bit pricier, but learning maybe a new dance, going and taking dance lessons, taking maybe some Pilates lessons, maybe karate lessons, maybe learn a new language. Now, there are apps, again, we have to use our phones, but there are apps that are free. I've used a little bit. They get you to a certain point, but you have to get a little deeper to really learn the language, but it does really help you get started. Or maybe pick up a musical instrument. Maybe you learned as a younger person, and now you want to pick that back up again. Maybe your friend has a piano, your church has a piano, and you want to take piano lessons. That would be something to pick up. Learning anything new is really important for brain health as we get older. Just keeping that brain moving and growing, just the same as our bodies need to keep moving, so do our brains. So think about that as we get older. Reading a book is another great thing for our memory and for our brain growth and for our imagination and our creativity. So if you want to get into reading, start slow. Start with maybe 5 pages or just one chapter or just 10-15 minutes before you go to bed. It doesn't have to be a long, extensive thing. Now, these last few things are probably my absolute favorite, and technically I guess they're not a hobby, but they're a really great habit to have. So when was the last time you took a piece of paper and you wrote out a note to someone that you've been thinking about. That's something that's really easy. Grab a pack of note cards, just grab a piece of paper and an envelope, or go find a stamp as well, and then mail it to them or deliver it to them if they're close. But anytime you're like thinking about someone you haven't heard from in a long time, or you haven't, just has just come across your mind, how special that person's going to feel if they actually have a handwritten note. And if you take those watercolor postcards that you've been working on, maybe after you get to a certain point where you've gotten a little better, maybe you want to share them with someone and write them a little note and then mail it off to them. And along those same lines, maybe take 10 minutes and pick up the phone and call that friend or FaceTime that friend. Just that, the interaction that's not a text or an email connects you so much more with that person and is just so much more meaningful than, shooting someone, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. And then that's it, right? So pick up the phone, actually have a conversation with someone. Try that today. Try that once this month. Once this month, right? Let's just pick up the phone when we've thought about someone and give them a call. And the last idea that when I saw this, I said, oh, this is so, so, so incredibly important. And that is, take a 10-minute mindful walk. Now, this one you will need your phone for, or if you have a camera, take that. But you're going to go for 10 minutes. You're going to be very mindful of what is around you. And you're going to find beauty wherever you are, whether it's a little sprout of wildflowers that popped up alongside the road, or your neighbor's beautiful flower garden, or maybe just a tree that is just gorgeous. But take your phone, take your camera, and take a picture of it. And try to do that several times a week. And I'm actually going to take this a little further. Now, I said this isn't something you have to post, and I said that it's not, I'm looking for things that you don't have to post, and I don't have to record, and I don't have to document. But this I'm going to challenge you, because I feel it's really important. Because the reason why they said this habit is important is because it helps you to train your brain to find beauty and stop focusing on the negative. And so it's really easy for our brains to start going over and over and over again about everything that may not be going right in your life, versus finding the beauty in even just the smallest of things. I want to challenge you. Go for your 10-minute walks once a week. And I have in the community section of this YouTube channel, I'm going to put a post, and I'm going to challenge you to share the pictures that you have taken on those mindful walks, so that we can encourage each other to do the same. Let me know in the comments below, have you started a new hobby? Or did any of these things kind of spark something in you that maybe you might want to try? Because it's super, super, super beneficial for us as women in the long run. And the last thing I'll say about all of this is keep it simple, make it messy, don't make it perfect, do it for fun, do it for you and what brings you joy. So I hope you've enjoyed this video today and the little thrift haul that I did this week. We have another project coming out in the next video, so I hope you join me in the next one. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye, y'all.